You're in the middle of a conversation or an argument and she says, "You just don't get it." You try to explain your perspective again, and she gets more frustrated. You're thinking, "What don't I get? I'm right here trying to understand." Here's what she's actually telling you when she says those words, and it's not what you think. When your wife says, "You just don't get it," she's not saying you're stupid or that you're missing some obvious fact. She's saying, "I don't feel understood by you right now. It's not about your intelligence. It's about emotional connection." She feels like there's a gap between what she's experiencing and what you're hearing. Here's the pattern most men miss. You're focused on the facts of the situation. She's focused on how the situation made her feel. When she says, "You don't get it," what she means is, "You're hearing my words, but you're missing my heart." You're trying to solve the logistics while she needs you to understand the emotional weight. Think about it this way. She tells you about something that upset her. You respond with facts. "But that's not what happened," or "I didn't mean it that way," or "Here's the logical explanation." To you, you're clarifying. To her, you're proving her point, that you don't get it, because it isn't the facts. It is how she feels. So what is she actually asking for when she says this? First, she's asking you to stop defending and start listening. When you immediately explain why she's wrong or why the situation isn't what she thinks, you're making the conversation about who's right instead of about her experience. She needs you to pause the defense and just hear her. Second, she's asking you to validate her emotional experience even if you see things differently. You can acknowledge how something affected her without agreeing that your actions were wrong. Try, "I can see this really hurt you," instead of, "That's not what I meant." One validates, the other deflects. Third, she's asking you to get curious instead of defensive. Instead of explaining your perspective again, try asking, "Help me understand what I'm missing. What do you need me to see?" This shifts from you defending yourself to you genuinely trying to bridge the gap. Here's what most men do wrong. She says, "You don't get it," and you respond with, "Yes, I do," and then re-explain your point. That's the exact opposite of what she needs. You just proved you don't get it by insisting that you do while not changing your approach. Let me give you the exact phrases that work in this moment. When she says, "You just don't get it," try one of these responses. "You're right. I'm missing something. Help me understand what you're feeling." Or, "I can see I'm not hearing you the way you need to be heard. Can we start over?" Or, "Tell me what I'm not getting." Notice what all of these do. They stop the defending. They acknowledge the disconnect. And they invite her to explain more instead of shutting down the conversation. Here's a critical insight. Sometimes "you don't get it" means she's tried to explain herself multiple ways and none of them are landing. She's frustrated because she feels like she's speaking a language you don't understand. In those moments, the problem isn't that she's bad at explaining. The problem is, you're listening for facts when she's communicating feelings. Let's walk through what this looks like in practice. She says, "I'm upset you didn't text me back earlier." You say, "I was busy at work. I couldn't check my phone." She says, "You just don't get it." Old response, "What don't I get? I explained why I couldn't respond." New response, "You're right. I'm missing something. Is this about more than just the text?" See the difference? The new response opens the door. Now she can say, "It's not about the text. It's about feeling like a priority." Or, "It makes me feel forgotten when you don't respond all day." Now you actually understand what "it" is. Here's another layer. Sometimes "you don't get it" is code for, "You're not emotionally safe right now." If your tone is defensive, if your body language is closed off, if you're interrupting or dismissing, she can't fully express what she's trying to say. The moment isn't safe enough for vulnerability. So when you hear, "You don't get it," check yourself. Are you defensive? Are you making this about being right? Are you more focused on explaining yourself than understanding her? If yes to any of those, that's what needs to change. One more thing. After you've really listened and she feels heard, that's when you can share your perspective. but not before. Most men try to make themselves understood before making their wife feel understood. Flip that order. Her feeling heard has to come first. Here's the deeper truth. "You don't get it" is an invitation, not an attack. She's telling you there's a gap and she wants you to close it. When you respond with curiosity instead of defense, with validation instead of explanation, you're showing her you're willing to bridge that gap, and that's what transforms the conversation. So next time your wife says, "You just don't get it," don't argue that you do. Don't re-explain yourself. Instead say, "You're right. Help me understand what I'm missing." That one response changes everything because it proves you're more interested in connection than being right. Comment below and let me know what you are currently struggling with in your communications with your wife. Click the link in the first comment or check my bio to discover an ebook that can help improve your communication with your wife.